Hello guys. So in this session we are going to learn how to install Prometheus and Grafana on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. Okay. So as you can see, this is my instance. I have successfully launched instance and connect to my terminal. So as you can see my instance Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. So we are going to install Prometheus and Grafana on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS, right? So first of all, let's understand what is Prometheus and some short information about Prometheus. So what is Prometheus? So Prometheus is an open source Linux server monitoring tool mainly used for metrics monitoring, event monitoring, and alert management, etc. And Prometheus has changed the way of monitoring system, and that is why it has become the top level project of cloud native computing foundation. After that, Prometheus uses a powerful query language that is PromQL, and then in Prometheus, tabs run handles hundreds of services and microservices. And Prometheus uses multiple modes used for graphing and dashboarding support. Then as you can see, this is the Prometheus architecture. So in this you can see first of all Prometheus server. So in server firstly storage and PromQL, then scrap target, service discovery, alert manager, and user interface. So here first of all in Prometheus component, Prometheus server right here. Okay, so Prometheus server is the first component of Prometheus architecture, and Prometheus server is a core Prometheus architecture which is divided into several parts like storage, PromQL, HTTP server, and etc. Then in Prometheus server, data is scrapped from the target nodes and then stored in the database. Okay, after that storage. Then here in PromQL, the next is service discovery. So what is service discovery? So it's very important component of Prometheus server, and with the help of service discovery the services are identified which are needed to scrap and to pull matrix identification services and finding targets. Then through services discovery we monitor the entities and can also locate its targets. Then next is scrap target. So here we can export the data of endpoint using node exporter, right? Then alert manager. So alert manager handles the alert which may occurs during the session, and alert manager handles all alerts which are sent by Prometheus server. And if in case any big error or any issue occurs, alert managers those alerts and contact with human via email, text messages, on call, or any other chat application service. Okay, then next is user interface. So user interface is also an important component as it build a bridge between the user and the system. And for good exclusive dashboard, Prometheus works together with Grafana. Okay, so using Grafana over Prometheus to visualize properly, we can use custom dashboard, and Grafana dashboard display via pie chart, line chart, table, and good data graphs of CPU uses, RAM utilization, network load, etc. with indicators. Then Grafana supports and run with Prometheus by querying language that is PromQL. Okay, so fetch data from Prometheus and to display the result, and Grafana dashboard PromQL is used. The next is what is Grafana. Okay, so Grafana is a free and open source visualization tool mostly used with Prometheus to which monitor metrics, and Grafana provides various dashboard charts, graphs, alerts, and particular data source. Then Grafana allows us to query, utilize, explore metrics, and set alerts for the data source, which can be system, servers, nodes, and cluster, etc. Then we can also create our own dynamic dashboard for visualization and monitoring. And we can save the dashboard and can even share with our team members, which is one of the main advantage of Grafana. So that's the short information about Grafana. Now the next is exporter, node exporter. So node exporter is one of the Prometheus exporter which is used to expose servers or system OS metrics. And with the help of node exporter, we can expose various resources of the system like RAM, CPU utilization, memory utilization, and disk space. And node exporter runs as a system service which gathers the metrics of the system, and that gathered metrics displayed with the help of Grafana visualization tool. So what is the node exporter? So that's the short information about node exporter. But note, note one thing, node exporter is only used for Linux, and for Windows there is a WMA exporter. There is another exporter called WMA exporter for Windows. Node exporter is only for Linux operating system, okay, not for the Windows operating system. It's only for the Linux operating system. For Windows operating system, there is another exporter called WMI exporter. Okay. Okay, that's the short information about Prometheus, Grafana, and Node exporter that we are going to install. Okay. Then here, let's check the prerequisites. So first of all, here, as you can see, we need a Ubuntu with 20.04 LTS. So here we are going to use this 22.04 LTS, right? That's the updated version, 22.04 LTS. Then we need a sudo privilege, then Prometheus system users and group, then sufficient storage on your system and good internet connectivity. After that, ports required. So we need a port 9090 for Prometheus. Then we need a port 3000 for Grafana, and then we need a port 9100 for node exporter. Okay, so that's the ports required. Okay, so that's the some prerequisites. So let's start. So as you can see, first of all, here you can see I have a instance. So I have successfully launched my instance and I have successfully connected my terminal. So as you can see, my operating system Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. Okay, so first of all, let's update our system package. So as you know, the command sudo apt update. So as you can see, it's done. So let's clear the screen first. Okay, so now the next command is here. Let's check. Now the next command is to create a system user for Prometheus using below command. So let's create system user for Prometheus. So I'm going to use this command. Okay, it's done. Now the next command is create the directories in which we'll be storing our configuration files and libraries. So for that, I'm going to create two directories here. Firstly, /etc Prometheus, and the second one is /var lib then Prometheus. So let's create. Okay, it's done. Now the next step is set the ownership of this Prometheus directory with below command. So we need to give some permission to this directory, right? So let's run this command to give some permissions. Okay, it's done. Now the next step is we need to insert this our /tmp folder directory. So let's go to the /tmp. Okay, now if I run the ls command, as you can see the files in this directory. Okay, now the next is download Prometheus. So here we need to download our Prometheus. So first of all, here if you want to download the latest version of Prometheus, then you can go to the official site of Prometheus and then you can download from there, right? So as you can see, this is the official site of Prometheus. You can see download. We provide pre-complete binaries and Docker images and so on. The Prometheus, this official site, right? So here you can see in the right hand side, there is a Prometheus alert manager and so on. So we will need to install Prometheus. So that's why I'm going to click on Prometheus. You can see the releases, right? The latest version. So Prometheus monitoring system and time series database. So you can see if I scroll down, first of all, you can see 2.37. After that, 2.45, then 2.46, and then 2.47. That's 2.47 is pre-release. Okay. So after that, here you can see release note, that means 2.46. So that's why I'm going to install this to download this 2.46. Okay. So here let's check our operating system. So my operating system is Linux, right? So that's why I'm going to use this. So let's copy the link address. And here let's download using wget command. We are going to download our Prometheus using wget command. Okay. So let's download. So okay, now if I run the ls command, so as you can see our tar.gz file. So now we need to extract this file, right? So first of all, I'm going to clear my screen and run the ls command. Okay, so first of all, now we need to extract this file. So how to extract? So here is the command. So extract the file using this tar. Okay, so let's enter sudo tar -xvf sudo tar -xvf and then your file name. So my file name is here, so I'm going to copy this name and paste here. So as you can see, it's extracting. Okay, now if I run the ls command, as you can see, my file is successfully extracted. You can see Prometheus 2.46.0 Linux AMD64. Okay, so let's clear the screen first and then run the ls command. Okay, now we have successfully extracted. Now the next step is move the configuration file and set the owner to the Prometheus user. So first of all, let's inside our extracted files, right? So how to inside? So first enter the cd command and then your extracted file name. So here's my file. Okay, now if I run the ls command, as you can see the files. Okay, now here first of all, let's move this file into this /etc Prometheus, right? Okay, now we have created this file, right, after some time ago. Okay, so now I'm going to move this file into this location. Okay, now the next step is move this Prometheus YAML file into this location. Okay, now the next step is let's give some permission to this /etc Prometheus using this command. Okay, now okay, now after that, move the binaries file. So let's move the binary file into this location. Then next is let's give some permission to this location. Okay, now if I run the ls command, as you can see, there is only that files. We have successfully moved this console libraries file, then we have successfully moved this console file, then Prometheus, then Prometheus.yaml file, right? Okay, we have successfully moved these three folders as well as file. Okay, now it's done. Now let's clear the screen first. Okay, now after that, here let's create our service file. So how to create? So as you can see, our service file in this location /etc system prometheus.service, right? So let's create our service file using this command. So I'm using my favorite editor, Nano, and here I'm going to create my service file using this below code. Now let's save and exit. Okay, after that, let's reload the system using below command. Okay, now let's start our Prometheus. Now let's enable our Prometheus. So as you know, the command sudo systemctl enable Prometheus. Okay, now let's check the status. Okay, so as you can see, it's active running. That means you have successfully installed Prometheus on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. Okay, so how to check? So how to access in our browser? So first of all, here let's open the configuration file to check our port number. So in my prerequisite, I mentioned for Prometheus port number is 9090, right? So let's check. So that's the configuration file. Okay, So that's the Prometheus configuration file. Which file? Prometheus.yaml. So the file in this location, we have moved, right? This file to this location /etc Prometheus.yaml. Okay, so let's check configuration file. So in configuration file, as you can see, the port number is 9090 for Prometheus. Okay, so let's copy your instance IP. So here's my instance. I'm going to copy my instance IP and paste in browser, and the port number is 9090. Okay, so as you can see, we are successfully download Prometheus, right, on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. So you can see if I go to my status and go to the targets, so you can see there is a one target as of now, which Prometheus. Okay, so as you can see, the state is up. That means it's successfully running. So sorry, the status is running. Then labels and the job Prometheus, right, and scrap timing for 12 seconds and something ago, right? Then scrap duration and the metrics, right? Now, if I run the up command, you can see here and click on execute. It's give us one, right? Give us one and job Prometheus. That means our Prometheus job is running. Why? Because it returned one. When we return zero, that means Prometheus job is not running. It's stopped. Okay. Okay. Prometheus, node exporter, and so on. When we return zero, that means it's not running. When we return one, that means it's running. Okay, so it's done. Okay, the status is up. Okay, it's done. Now, next is node exporter. So let's install node exporter. So go to the official site here for Prometheus here. And now we are going to install node exporter, right? So let's search node exporter. So the node exporter is here. So let's click on. So here's the node exporter. So here our operating system is Linux. So for Linux here, as I told you, node exporter is only for Linux, right? That means it's not for Windows operating system. Why? Because Windows operating system, there is a separate exporter called WM exporter, right? If you go to the Prometheus, as you can see, there is a operating system Windows, and that's for zip file for Windows operating system, right? But if I go to the node exporter, as you can see, there is no any file for Windows because the node exporter is not for Windows. So that's why there is a no any file for Windows operating system. Okay, so the remember this, node exporter is not for Windows. For Windows there is a separate exporter called WM exporter, right? So let's download. So copy the link address and go to your terminal. So let's clear the screen first, and now install the download using wget command. Wget and copy the paste the link that we have copied. Okay, now run the ls command. So as you can see, node exporter. Okay, now we need to extract this file using this tar command. Okay, so let's extract. Okay, as you can see, it's done. It's successfully extracted. Okay, now the next step is move the binary file into this node exporter to this location, right? So let's run this command to move this location. Okay, now next is create a node exporter user to run the node exporter service. For that, let's run the command. Okay, now create a custom node exporter service. Okay, so here create a node exporter service file in this location. So let's create service file, node exporter service file to this location using my favorite editor, Nano. So the location is /etc systemd system node exporter service, and here we need to paste this below code. Okay, now let's save the file and exit. Okay, now after that, let's reload the node exporter service using this command. After that, as you know, the next command is start your node exporter using this command, right? Now let's enable. Okay, now let's check the status. As you can see, it's active running. That means we have successfully installed Node Exporter on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. Now the next is here you can see after starting the service, Node Exporter is ready to export matrix. So if you want to check the matrix, then you can copy your instance IP and the port number is 9100. So let's check the matrix of Node Exporter. So as you can see, Node Exporter, Prometheus, Node Exporter, version, branch, revision, and so on. If I click on matrix, you can see it's scrapping matrix. You can see, right? Node Exporter, CPU seconds, and so on. So that's the matrix of Node Exporter. Okay. Now here, let's update our configuration file, right? So here, if I go to my Prometheus, here Prometheus and go to the status and go to the target. So as of now, there is only one target Prometheus. There is no any node exporter target, right? So we need to add in our configuration file. When we changes in our configuration file, after that there is a another one target that name is node exporter. So first of all, we need to update our configuration file, right? So let's open our configuration file. So this is our configuration file, right? Prometheus.yaml file in this location. So let's open our configuration file first. And here, this is our configuration file, right? You can see in our configuration file, first of all, globe, then scrap interval. So here is scrap 50 seconds. Why? You can see the command, set the scrap interval to every 50 seconds, default is 1 minute. Then evaluation interval 15 seconds. So you can see evaluate rules every 15 seconds and the default is every 1 minute, and scrap timeout is set to the global default 10 seconds. Then alert manager configuration, then alerting. So as of now there is no any alerting, right, for alert manager, so that's why it's keep as it is. Then rules file, so as of now there is no any rules file, so that's why here comment these two rules files. Okay, if you want to add, then you can uncomment these files and add the rule. Okay, then scrap config. So as of now there is one we have only one job for scrap, right? Prometheus. Now let's add second job here, right? So I'm going to add my second job with the name node exporter. And here you need to careful about indentation. Okay, you need to careful about your indentation. Okay, it's done. You can see indentation is correct. Okay, then here let's enter your server IP of node exporter machine, right? Our port number is 9100 for node exporter. So let's enter our instance IP. So here is our instance, and then copy your instance IP and paste here. Okay, now let's save the file using Control X, Y, and enter. Okay, now let's restart our Prometheus, right? So how to restart? Here is the command sudo systemctl Prometheus, otherwise Prometheus.service. Okay, let's see the status for once. You can say it's active running. Okay, now let's check. So go to the Prometheus here and let's refresh the page. Now go to the status and targets. So as you can see, now we have two targets, one for node exporter and another for Prometheus. So you can see it's the status of that means it's running. And you can see the labels, instance IP, and the port number and the job name, right? Now if I go to the Prometheus and enter the query up and click on execute. Now we have two outputs here, right? One for node exporter and the other one for Prometheus. Now we have two jobs, so that's why here return in two outputs, right? And it return one for both. Why? Because the both are running, so that's why there is a 1. If node export is stopped, then it returns 0. Okay, now it's done. Now the next is let's install Grafana. Okay, so as I told you, Grafana is a visualization tool, right? So let's download the Grafana GPG keys with wget, then pipe the output to the apt key. So this will add the key to your apt instance, right? Installations list of trusted keys, and which will allows you to download and verify the GPG signing Grafana package, right? So let's install this GPG keys using this wget command. Okay, now the next is add the Grafana repositories to your apt resources. Enter. Okay, now the next is let's refresh to our apt cache. That means we need to update our system package first before installing Grafana. Okay, it's done. Now let's clear the screen first, and now the next step is install Grafana. So yes, I want to install. So as you can see, it's done. Let's clear the screen, and now let's start our Grafana server using the command sudo systemctl start Grafana. Then let's enable our Grafana first. Now let's check the status of our Grafana. As you can see, it's active running. That means you have successfully installed Grafana on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. Okay. Okay. Now it's done. Now how to check our Grafana, sorry, how to access our Grafana in browser. So as a if you remember, as I told you that for Grafana we need a port 3000, right? So let's copy your instance IP first, and let's hit on browser instance IP colon and then 3000 for Grafana. So as you can see, loading Grafana. Now you can see welcome to Grafana. So it will ask username and password. So what's the username and password? So the default username and password for Grafana is admin. Username also admin and the password also admin. After login, it will, here you can see update your password. So it will ask to set your password for security reason, right? So let's enter a new password and confirm new password and then submit. So as you can see, this is our Grafana dashboard. So you can see the details of your Grafana. So here in this side, you can see your username and login, admin, profile, notification history, change password and sign out, right? Here you can see welcome to Grafana, basic tutorials and data source, dashboard, boards and so on, right? So here you can see, right? So that's the Grafana dashboard, right? If you want to search any dashboard or something, then you can search from here also, right? So that's the Grafana dashboard, right? Now let's check, let's create a dashboard, right? So first of all, click on this toggle menu, and here go to the connections, right? And click on data source. click on add data source. And here add data source. Our source is Prometheus, right? Our source is Prometheus, open source time series data and alerting. So select our Prometheus. So data source added, right? Now after that here, that's the information about Prometheus server URL. So here we need to enter our server URL. So which server URL? So that's Prometheus series, right? That's our server URL from here to here. That means our instance IP and the port number. So that's our server URL, right? Then allows cookies. So keep as it is, right? Then scroll down, keep as it is, and click on yeah, keep as it is, and then click on save test. As you can see, successfully required the Prometheus API, right? Okay, now it's done. Now go to the home page. Now we have successfully add our data source, right? Now we need to import our dashboard. So how to import? So if I click on this plus icon here, you can see import dashboard. Okay, so here it will ask the grafana.com dashboard URL or ID. So we need to enter URL or ID. So here we need to check the dashboard for node exporter, right? So that's why the node exporter ID is 14513. So click on load. And let's check the details. So name is node exporter, right? Linux node exporter. The folder is general, right? Okay. Then the ID and select data source. So select Prometheus data source. Select Prometheus data source is Prometheus. Default one is Prometheus. So that's why I'm going to select Prometheus and click on import. So now as you can see, this is our dashboard. So you can see our dashboard, right? So you can see here the details of CPU busy, then Steam load, and then RAM use, then root, and so on, uptime, and the RAM, and so on. So you can see memory basic and CPU basic and network traffic basic. So you can see the details of about your node exporter, right? So you can see the host number, host name, host. You can see this is our instance IP and then 9100, that node exporter port number, right? That means matrix, right? Then our job name is node exporter, right? Then default here Prometheus and default, right? Then here, then you can see the date and timing, right? Date and timing. So if you want to go to the GitHub, then you can go to the GitHub from here and Grafana, right? So you can see here the uptime and so on. If you want to change the settings, you can go to the dashboard settings. If you want to save this dashboard, and so you can save this dashboard also, right? So that's the Linux exporter node. That means our this is our Linux exporter dashboard. You can see the details. Okay. So in this session, we have successfully installed Prometheus, Grafana, and Node Exporter on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS, right? So in this session, we have learned how to install Prometheus, Grafana, and Node Exporter on Ubuntu 22.04 LTS. So thank you for watching.